if you're having conversations about annuities, or even if you're not having conversations about annuities, the things that I hear from clients as to reasons why they don't want to be a part of them, this product's going to square up, okay? It's been kind of ironed out to be just kind of a very simplistic fixed index annuity, and because of that, there's all sorts of really neat things. It honestly, quite honestly, reminds me quite a lot of the way annuities were built when I started selling annuities, okay? Which is kind of refreshing because after the crash of 2008, everybody pulled back everything. Took away rates, took away benefits, took away everything. So this product is kind of giving me hope and belief that that marketplace is going to start opening back up again, and we're going to start seeing more and more things like this. So we're just going to walk through it real quick. The one I printed out for you is the one that I'm going to lean in the direction of, but there are multiple variations of this product, so we'll just hit them real quick. What? This one's called the Athene Ascent Accumulator 10. There was also an Accumulator 7 and an Accumulator 5. Okay? So what those numbers at the end of that title are referring to is the length of time that the surrender schedule lasts on that product. So obviously 10 years has 10 years worth of surrender charges, 7 years and 5 years respectively. The thing I think is really cool about this is, given the marketplace that we service, we've got some pretty flexible sales ages here. The 10 will go to 80, the 7 will go to 83, and the 5 will go to 85. So you can write that product, the Ascent Accumulator 10, all the way up to age 85. There aren't too many carriers that we've got out there that are going to let you write up to age 85. So for those of you guys that have older clients that are looking for something to do constructive with maybe a little extra money, maybe you uncovered a CD, or somebody's socking money away in a bank account because they don't like insurance agents, whatever the case might be, this might be a good option for them.
What about 86?
What about 86?
None?
Not in this product.
Was that Greek Catholic?
Yeah, we'll talk about GCU another lifetime, okay? No, they're out there, but you're really not getting much for your money when you're talking about issuing annuities over age 85. Why? Because those people are basically at their life expectancy, so the company's not willing to give them anything. That'd be like writing $1 million term on a 92-year-old. Probably not going to happen. All right. So the thing I like about this product, guys, you ever hear clients say, well, you know, what if I need to get to my money? What if something comes up? What if? All right, it's always the what if. And it's always the people that have $300,000 cash sitting in the bank that are, well, what if I need to get my hands on that money? It's absurd, because they would never do that, but this gives us the ability to do first-year withdrawals. All right? That's very unique. Most of our carriers in the annuity world make you wait at least 1 year before you start taking money out of your account. This first year withdrawal is equivalent to 10% of the accumulated value. Alright? Pretty sweet. Put in $100 grand, I can go back and get as much as $10,000 in the first year without any penalty. Again, that is uncommonly, we just don't see that happening right now. So I think that's pretty fantastic. I want you to flip over the second page for a second, just while we're talking about first year withdrawals and the length of surrender schedule. So those of you guys that are familiar with annuity products or have done any on your own, surrender schedule on this thing is pretty awesome. Would you agree? Let me start at 9% and work our way down. So, you know, I'll give you a for instance. Any of you, and I was a huge fan, still am a big fan of it, but the American Equity Bonus Gold surrender schedule starts at 20%. This is at 9. Okay, even the Allianz 222 starts higher than 9. All right, so it's a very, very favorable surrender schedule for your client. I need you to understand that there is no upfront bonus. There is no premium bonus, so they're not going to get anything for their money. So if you're trying to replace another annuity, it better be out of surrender charges if you're going to write this product. Okay, because you're not getting anything on the front side. What you are getting, if you go back to the first page, guys, these rates are ridiculous. Just letting you know, they're pretty high. And this may not mean much to you, so I'm going to start at the S&P 500, okay? 1 year point to point. If your client puts in, notice there's a low band and a high band, right? So they're offering different rates based on the amount of money that's going into the investment. Low band, high band. High band, over 100K, 6.25% against the S&P 500. Does everybody know what a point-to-point measurement is? It's start to finish, that's it. We take the beginning number, we take the end number, we subtract it. That's it. S&P 500, guys, averages around 7.2% per year on average over the lifetime of the stock market. So if our client in a fixed index annuity that has no ability to lose is able to capture 6.25 of that 7.2, that's a pretty strong story. Would you agree? That's out of control. I'll give you some for instances. A lot of our products right now, 2.5, 2.75, 3, 3.5 maybe. This is 6.25. Even on the low band, we're at 5.25. Okay, that's giving your client roughly 70% of what the market averages. Pretty solid without any risk of failure. All right? Here's a pretty cool little thing that I actually had to call Greg Haney to get him to walk through with me because I didn't quite understand what the company was trying to do. Now I understand, and I think it's pretty cool. You guys know that every year the company reserves the right to change the rates, right? Mm-hmm. And if any of you guys are in the annuities with National Western Life, you've noticed that they hook you and then they cut you. All right, so they give you a great upfront rate and then they take it out from underneath you. All right. So Athene recognizes that a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth about fixed index annuities, specifically for the renewal rates. So look just below that 1 year point to point. See where that says bailout cap rate? You guys ever heard of a bailout cap? I think it must have had. Bailout cap says that if the company should find themselves in a position that they drop the cap on that annual point to point on the S&P 500 below 3%, surrender charges go out the window. Client has the ability to access full accumulated value of their account. So you get their renewal letter. It says renewal rate 2.95. That's money you can move right then, right there, no penalty.
It's usually like a 30-day window.
They give you a 30-day window. You're exactly right. So it's going to keep you motivated to stay on top of your 11-month check-in letters for your clients and doing the annual reviews and all that kind of good stuff. But why would they drop the cap that low? Well, if the market's failing miserably, they're going to have to protect themselves, and so they may not have a financial choice but to drop that rate that low. And that certainly would not be an advantageous position for your client to be in, given the fact that more than likely they got into this product because of its growth potential. Right? So they're going to give them an out, which I think is pretty cool. Also a very strong story. Okay? Guys, look at the fixed rate on the high band. It's 2.95. What's the high? Have you guys looked at any CD rates lately? If you don't, or if you don't know what they are, go to bankrate.com. Just type in bankrate.com and be ready to be nauseated. 0.45? Solid. I can almost get you to a half a point. That's great. Alright? 2.95. You guys are looking for a CD killer? Here's a CD killer right there. You just crushed a CD. And you give them the ability to withdraw money in the first year? Are you kidding me? What is a CD? It's an obsolete product, is what it is. When you've got something that'll be like this. Now there's a couple other things on here, guys, that you may be confused about. So I want to talk to you about them. Everybody know what a participation rate is? The amount of which we get to participate in the growth of that particular index, right? Have you ever seen a 155% participation rate? So we're going to give you another 55% over and above whatever the index created for you in the way of a return. It's out of control. Market does this, we'll do better. That's awesome. All right, now I tend to not like 2-year options, so I'll move away from the 155. But even the 105% on that high band is crazy. I'll give you 5% more than the market did, and we're only going to make you wait 1 year to get it. Okay. So this PNB, Paribus Multi-Asset Diversified 5 Index. Sounds pretty confusing, right? Well, for us money managers, I'm a big fan of this kind of concept, okay? Because it's doing a couple of things. You guys have heard of the volatility control indexes, right? You can see it further down. They're calling theirs the S&P Daily Risk Control 5%. What the volatility control index is trying to do, guys, is trying to keep people from having to be involved in an index that's just bouncing, okay? And when the market starts getting out of control and being super volatile, it's not going to bode well for your client in the way of return. So volatility control index, what they're saying there, and the fives on both that and the Morningstar and the S&P 500, they're saying if the market is exhibiting volatility greater than 5%, we're going to shift away from equity and we're going to move towards cash. Okay? And what cash is in the equity world, it's dividend payments. Okay? So what those indices and the companies within those indices are creating by way of dividend payments to their clients or their shareholders, now we're going to focus on the growth of the dividend payment as opposed to the growth of the equity, because the equity growth is too volatile, right? So that BNP Paribas Multi-Asset Diversified 5 Index is actually going to be based off of 8 different things, all right? Which is also very cool. I always hear diversification when it comes to investment strategy, right? Well, now we have an index allocation that is inherently diversified in and of itself, all right? So they're basing it off of 8 different asset classes. One is gold. One is livestock. 2 are Japanese indices. 2 are European indices. And 2 are U.S. indices. That's pretty good diversification right there, guys. We got precious metals, we got commodities, we got Asian markets, we have European markets, and we have our domestic marketplace. BNP, by the way, stands for National Bank of Paris, for what that's worth to you. But there's actually, my conversation with Greg, they've picked up, there's quite a number of carriers that have picked up this particular index because it's got some juice to it. So. Again, I think that's a pretty unique story to be able to tell, that we're tracking all of those different things, all within one investment strategy. All right? How many of you guys have clients that have money that they're setting aside just because something happens to them? They want their families to make sure they get their money, right? A lot of people do that, specifically those that don't believe in life insurance. Doesn't matter. Then it's mine. I don't want that. So, specifically the client, and you hear this quite a bit, but specifically a client that maybe put money into a CD or into a savings account or whatever, and they say, oh, well, you know, I'm not worried about probate because I got the transfer on death aspect of it and blah, blah, blah. That's great, but guess what? That money's not going to grow at all. It's going to sit there. Going to do nothing. Eventually, hopefully, they'll get a little bit frustrated with that and they'll be looking for something different, right? Here's a neat story. Go down to the bottom of page 1. What if I were to tell Mr. or Mrs. Client that I've got a way for them to grow their quote-unquote death benefit money by 8% per year? You know any CD that'll do that? You know any bank account that'll do that? Really, any fixed product that will do that? Not really. Alright, 8% per year. Now that is simple interest, guys. Everybody understand the difference between simple and compounded interest? Just in case there is anybody in the room that does not understand the difference. Simple interest is going to be the percentage of what the original investment value was. So $100,000 with 8% simple will simply earn $8,000 a year.
What year two?
$8,000.
10.
I'm not going to continue doing this with you.
$8,000.
But seriously, if you got somebody that's just got money plugged away, and guys, we are a great life insurance office. We're not even close to being one of the best annuity offices in ASB. So you guys are talking to people every single day about how to create money for their families. For a death benefit, right? There's a fee on that, 0.95. So less than 1% gets them 8. Pretty strong story, right? There is no income rider on this product, so don't worry about that part. If you're looking for income, this is not your product. Alright? I talked to you about the 1-year point-to-point and the multi-asset diversified because those are the two that I'm going to be using until this rate structure changes. No need for us to go to the Morningstar, the S&P 500 because for all intents and purposes they're going to be mirroring that BNP Paribas index, but they're illustrating roughly 1 to 1.5% lower per year based on what historical market performance has shown us. All right, so there's really no point in going for the second best guy. All right. Any questions on this? By the way, minimum premium $5,000. What we use for Elaine. So this is the product we use for Elaine. So minimum premium $5,000, write it up to age 80, no fee unless you're putting a rider on it. High caps, high participation rates, first year withdrawals. Any questions? Yes, sir.
It says rates are guaranteed for the initial term only.
Yes, sir.
The initial term is the 10 years
First
or 1
year.
year?
1 year. Just like with every fixed index annuity, the companies are going to reserve the right to adjust their rates accordingly based on what they can get in the market. Okay? And it has everything to do with the rate at which they can purchase options. Okay? And I can go into a longer explanation of what and why that is, but just for the simplistic purposes, the investments that they are using to support these products have to be able to support the rates that they're offering or they can't do it. Which is where that bailout rate comes into play. Like I said, right now it's a 6 1/4. If they drop it down below 3, they'll let the client out of the product.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes. But they're only gonna do that just for that first year, to guarantee the first year.
No, every year, right now, if you sold one of these, they're gonna get these rates.
Okay.
At the end of year 1, they're gonna get a renewal letter. That renewal letter will say, this is what your rates were, this is what your rates will be for next year. And you have the option at that point to make adjustments of what strategies you want to use. Okay? That rate is then guaranteed for that year, and then at the end of that year, it'll happen all over again.
Gotcha. Okay, I got you.
So once a year, your client's going to get a letter, and the rates will either stay the same, they potentially will get better, and potentially will get worse. Okay? But once that anniversary hits, that's what their rate is for that next year. Sense? Good.
What is that dollar for dollar withdrawal limit on the bottom? What is it?
You tell me what page you're on?
Front page, very bottom of the death benefit rider.
Front page. That's talking about how it's coming against that death benefit rider. I'll need to make a phone call about that because I can't give you an honest answer unless I'm just guessing. I'm guessing if you use a death benefit rider, they're going to want you to take lower levels of withdrawals or what equates to 5% of that benefit base, if I'm guessing. But I don't have a straightforward answer. I've written 3 of these. I've been contracted with this company since the 27th of February, so. I'm passing on to you guys.
On the back page, it's underneath the dollar, it explains about it, everything.
So it just switches over to pro rata if you exceed 5%. It's basically the bottom line. Thank you for finding that,
You're
Jim.
welcome.
That make sense?
Yep.
So it's dollar for dollar, which is actually really beneficial for your client to protect that death benefit. And then if you exceed 5%, then it's a proportionate reduction. Simple enough. So my guess was wrong. That's right. Any other questions?
Do we also get CC'd on that annual renewal letter, so we know to call them at that 30-day window?
And unless I am confused, every company that we write for in the annuity marketplace sends us a copy of just about everything that they send the client. Except for like that minimum distribution letter. I tend to get big packets from companies at the beginning of the year about my R&D clients, but no, typically, and I know it's actually pretty cool. The contract that I had that I went on strike about was with Aviva, and then Aviva sold to Athene. When I went back in and got recontracted, they're actually giving me access back to all the contracts that I had under my old writing number. So I can see all of those now too. So yes, you can absolutely see them, because I can see the ones on the terminated contract. So, pretty cool. Didn't expect that. Any questions? I think it's a sharp product, guys. Nice and easy to talk about. Lots of good stories to tell here. And then the complexity of this one is fairly low comparatively to some of the other stuff we got out there in the annuity world. So this would be one I'd be talking about.
Still have to have your own training, go through your training to even just mention it though, correct?
Yeah, I need to be clear on this because I've had a lot of questions about this. In order to write an annuity, you have to have taken the NAIC 4-hour state suitability training. Okay? You can do it on WebCE. It's right there. But if you don't take it, there's not an annuity carrier out there that's going to take your business. Okay? So, if you're interested in writing annuities, go ahead and take your 4-hour state suitability training. Almost every carrier that we write annuities for has their own product training to go along with it as well. Alright? So, this one included. Huh? Well, hopefully all you guys have E&O and anti-money laundering to begin with, otherwise you wouldn't be writing life insurance either. Okay. Questions? Good? So let's do me a favor. In the next 2 days, do at least one completed fact finder and have one conversation about this product. In the next 2 days. That's roughly 10 appointments for each of you, right? Do it once, 10%. I want to see if we can up even just the amount that we're talking about annuities in houses. I'm giving you an easy one to talk about. I mean, honestly, I got a client, Randy and I have a client, literally all I did, he wasn't even really interested in talking with us about annuities. We've already done a bunch with him. I just slid him the rate sheet and was like, just take a look. Let me know what you think. We're going to see him, what, next week? Or Monday after that? Yeah, 2 weeks down the road. Awesome. Same thing that Troy and I did. Just the one we wrote too. People got more money than they know what to do with. Sitting there in their bank doing nothing. Why don't you look at this? What do you think? Pretty nice numbers. Okay, sounds good. Easy peasy, guys. Go right on. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.